Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now.
Yes.
Um, okay, fantastic. So today we're going to be covering, I'm sure you know about Avalara from the sales tax calculation side, but today we're going to be covering the exemption side. So managing your tax exempt sales and how working with Avalara can help you on the Sage side. Managing tax exempt sales can be really tricky, mostly because there are different requirements for different certificates. Certificates are a required and necessary part of any tax exempt transaction. We're going to cover the anatomy of those exemption certificates, talk about best practices for maintaining and validating and storing them, and then I'm going to show you a demo of how Avalara works with it. So first, a few quick screens so we can talk through this, and then I'll pop over to a live demo. All right, little disclaimer here, just a friendly reminder. Avalara can't provide you legal tax advice. We're going to answer as best we can. We're going to give you some information, but I am not a tax advisor. So my name is Rose Twait. I'm a senior product solution and engineer here at Avalara. I've been with Avalara for just about 13 years. I work with our different teams on demos of our products and services and talking to our clients about use case scenarios and making sure that we can best fit what their needs are. On the tax exempt side, there is a corresponding exemption that's associated. So if you are registered to collect sales tax in a state and you're selling a product that would otherwise be taxable, then the buyer, if they tell you they're tax exempt, they have to provide some type of documentation to prove to the state or jurisdiction that you, as a seller, did not have to charge them sales tax. There are actually over 1,600 different exemption forms in the United States. Most of those forms, about 80%, are going to be covered with about 80 to 100 types of forms, but that's still a high number of forms to manage. The problem is that the onus is actually on the the seller to collect the right form and ensure that it's filled out properly. So there are multiple reasons that a customer might claim to be exempt on sales tax. These mainly fall under two main categories. So organizations can be exempt due to the purchasing entity's business status. So basically, states have granted specific rules for different types of entities. So that's going to be like your nonprofits, your governments, your hospitals, those types of business entities, they would be exempt when they make purchases. Those are going to vary in terms of the requirements by state. Some states are going to allow them to be tax exempt, some states aren't. The other side is, secondly, like the other most common type of exemption is going to be the intended use for goods sold, which is resale exemptions. So there's two types of resale exemptions. One is the good is resold as it is, and second, the good might be used in a product that will be resold. So you've got business entity exemptions as well as how you're using something resale exemptions. So before we jump into a demonstration and talk a little bit more about exemptions, one other thing to keep in mind is that businesses have a requirement to collect and remit sales tax in states where they meet economic nexus thresholds. So that means sales thresholds. This is in 45 different states and the District of Columbia, plus certain cities in Alaska. So this chart just gives kind of a sample of what that looks like. This is important because even if your customers are exempt, you still need to be registered in a state. You can see the thresholds are going to vary across different states in terms of requirements. A lot of them are $100,000, but most states count exempt sales in that threshold. So even if you're selling to only exempt clients, you still need to get registered. And that means you've got to maintain your exemption certificates as well. There, we'll be providing a link on this presentation. There's actually a free sales tax risk assessment on our website if you ever wanted to share that with clients. So the burden again is going to be on the seller. This can be tricky because it can cause friction and added time on a sales cycle. A lot of times the businesses that you sell to don't have, proper maintenance of their own exemption certificates. There's issues with storage. So most businesses are going to store their exemption certificates in a file cabinet, on email attachments, in shared folders, but they're not going to be reviewing them or noticing if any of them expire. So this is a problem because in an audit, a bad certificate means the same as having no certificate at all. So it could be missing or expired or invalid. They can end up costing a company a lot in an audit in terms of P&I. So examples that we see a lot here at Avalara is that if your clients change their company name or they acquire new businesses, a lot of times that means they would need to collect new exemption certificates. We want to help on the customer experience side. The collection of exemption certificates can make the experience sometimes pretty poor if it's not organized. So customers feel burdened having to provide this. They might have poor experiences, which leads to improper billing. There's no like streamlined way, unless you're using Avalara, right, to manage these exemptions. So we want to help you with that side. Avalara is integrated with Sage, different Sage environments. So you can see across the top here. And then we would help on the exemption side. So we would read the customer identification information within the Sage environment and then associate that with an exemption form and help you manage those. So I'm going to jump into the actual demo, a live demo on the Avalara side. Go ahead and pause that. All right. So now you should see the Avalara homepage right now. Is everybody seeing that? I think so. Good. So first of all, when we're connected to a Sage environment, those transactions are actually automatically going to flow over here. So I did want to show you what it looks like when we have an exempt transaction within Avalara. So I'm going to pop down here to an exempt customer. So these are invoices that are happening in Sage, and some of the information that we're helping with is this exemption piece. So right here at the additional info, it says, has an exemption been applied? Yes, see line details. If I click down under tax details, I'm going to actually be able to click on that certificate that was applied. So now I have a really nice audit trail from that specific customer invoice to the resale certificate that's associated with that customer. I'm going to have a history here, going to tell me when I received it. If the certificate expires, it's going to give you that information down here as well. The exemption management side is built right into Avalara right here under exemptions. So we're going to pop over there. This page is going to give you an overview of how you're doing on the exemption management piece. So for example, I've got 42% valid exemptions on file. I'm missing 39%. I've got some that are expired. I can run reports on all this information. I can turn on automated reminders to automatically reach out to my customers if their exemption is going to expire or not. I can send out bulk requests to multiple customers, or I can send one-off requests. So let's take a quick peek at the request side. So I could either select multiple customers, create a list of certain customers in certain states if I wanted to send out a bulk request, or I could send a one-off request, and this is what it looks like. So again, this customer information is tied into the Sage environment. the customer identification number. We can see for this customer, Twait & Co., there's a bunch of different regions that they're in, and we're missing some. I do have some on file, which I can actually look at right here. I'm going to go ahead and click Request a Certificate. With Avalara, you can create your own. Let me go ahead and refresh that right now. With Avalara, you can create your own templates. You don't have to use our default templates as they pop through. But once I click Refresh, there we go. Okay. Once I click Send, you're going to get an email and it's going to look like this. So I'm sending this as the business to the customer. You can add your own logo on here. It will show you which regions are covered. You can click on the CertExpress link. So this is our online portal for collection of the exemption certificates. So if I click on that, it's going to take me over to this website right here, which is how your customers are going to provide those exemption certificates in an easy manner. So it's mirroring the information we've got that shows, hey, we're missing all of these different certificates. I can go into one, I can click Create Requested. I'll be able to select the exempt reason on here. And you can personalize this reason. It doesn't have to be the ones I'm showing right now. From this page, I'll be able to import a copy of my exemption certificate. So if I had a PDF, I can just pop that right in here. If I didn't, I could also fill it out online. So some exemption certificates you can just fill out online. If I didn't know what the exemption certificate that was being requested looked like, I could click on this button and it's going to show me that exemption certificate right here. For our purposes, I'll go ahead and fill this out. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my information and I'm going to sign this. This works on a computer as well as a cell phone. We'll click Next. Avalara is going to check to see if I'm filling out the required fields on this. Once that's in the system, I can go back to my customer page in Avalara. I can click Refresh, and now we're going to see that Texas certificate that I just filled out online. So we're making it really easy for those customers to give us those exemption certificates. And then Avalara, you can turn on automation on this side. We will automatically email your customers if they didn't fill it out correctly, if they're invalid, if the exemption certificates are going to expire. You can set up automated reminders, all of that through the Avalara system. One last piece to show you on this that I think is really nice is we also have a resources section built into our exemption certificate management side. So if I'm a customer and I don't understand what my requirements are for exemption certificate management, I can come in here and I can look up the requirements by tax exempt business entity and by state. And it will tell me what forms are required by the type of business. The other thing I could do, the other most common reason you need to manage your exemption certificates or around resale, is I can come into the frequently asked questions for resale, and I can see again what the requirements are by state for resale. So is there a required renewal period? Some states there isn't, and some states there is. So that's really important information for businesses to have. All right, and that was everything I wanted to show you on that side. I'm going to go ahead and pop back into my deck. Any questions on what I've showed you so far? All right.
Questions yet?
Good. So if you think of anything, feel free to reach out to our team. Melissa Craig, that's the email address. We're on the Sage Marketplace. We're going to provide a copy of this presentation, which has hyperlinks to things like the risk assessment if you want to provide that to your clients. And then also our our Sage page that has some demos, online videos that you can watch. Thank you so much for your time. It was nice to meet everybody, or
Yeah.
see everybody, I guess.
Thank you, Rose.